this video is to go over how to create the less is more in Photoshop for visual art and technology. We are going to start by making sure you have a folder of images that you can choose from in your H drive. So we saved our images in our image folder, but when we started the Less is More project, we created a folder and we have a bunch of images that we're going to use for Less is More. They were large-scale, simple images of animals, minerals, vegetables, or man-made objects that are really high-res and have a lot of texture or pattern. So know where those images are before you start. You're going to file New, title it Less is More, and go down to Preset US Paper, which gives you an 8.5 by 11. We're going to lower our res to 150 just to make it a little bit less large of a file. So we're going to hold on to that for a while and leave that there. Well, we're going to file Open one of our first photos. So we're going to go into our Less is More folder and pick a picture to work from and just plain open it. You'll notice it's on two different tabs. So here's your paper and here's your original photo. We're going to change that photo to be black and white and square. And so we're going to go to our background layer, right click and create a duplicate layer and hit OK. So we're going to work on that duplicate layer and preserve our original, just in case you mess up. It's a habit I like you to get into. We're going to start by going to Image, Adjustments, and moving to Black and White. Black and White turns your image to black and white. Feel free to play with the settings. Your goal is to make your photo look as sharp and textural as possible, so it looks very, very detailed. And just use your own sensibilities for that. You can also go to Image, Adjustments, Brightness, Contrast, and increase the contrast to get a little bit more sharp texture out, and hit OK. So step 1, black and white. Step 2, use the cropping tool to crop this down to a square. Now when you start, yours probably is going to, here, let me get rid of that. When you turn on the cropping tool, for you, it's going to fill your whole frame. You saw mine was a square a second ago. I got that by going up here to the top and constraining my crop to a square. That's going to make life a lot easier on you. It's really hard to pull a perfect square. You can move the photo around. You can zoom in a little, but don't cut out too much of the frame. We still want most of the image that is in the photo without too much zoom. Hit Enter or hit the check mark at the top to apply the crop. You're going to File, Save As, and you're going to see I have them in here already. So you're going to save it as Less is More, or LIM1. So mine are in here for a previous class. You'd have nothing in your folder. Save it as LIM1, hit Save, and OK. Second thing we're going to do is crop again. So it's already still in crop mode. You're going to hover over a corner, pull in, so that you can still recognize the object, but it's much, much closer. Not super close, but pretty zoomed in. Hit Enter, File, Save As, change the 1 to a 2. Okay. Last one. Now you're going to do a pretty severe crop. So that pretty severe crop means you don't necessarily need to be able to tell what your thing is anymore. That's up to you. I just want you to find an area that you think is interesting looking, fills the space well, lots of pattern and texture. Hit Enter, File, Save As, LIM3. Okay. Last step, turn off the crop. Go back up here to our friend the Move tool so you're not accidentally cropping again. You're going to go up to Image, you're going to go to Adjustments, and about halfway down to Invert. That flips the image and reverses it. You can go back up to Image, Adjustments, Brightness, Contrast if you feel like you want to get a little bit more of that sharp in there, just to make the image as cool looking as possible. It's okay if you can't really tell what it is anymore. That's kind of the goal. So we're going to File, Save As, LIM4. So now we have our 4 files. We're going to go back to our original page and start placing the images in here. You guys know how to do this. File, Place, double click, hold down Shift. You're going to scale your image down, making sure you're holding down Shift. Doesn't really matter where it is, as long as it's small enough to fit 3 more on the page. I'm I'm going to pause and finish that with my other LAM. So I just placed 2 through 4, so 1, 2, 3, and 4. They're all on the page, they're different sizes, and I want to kind of organize them now. So we're going to make sure we're on the Move tool. We're going to make sure we have Auto Select checked, which means we can just move these individually by clicking on them. It might help you to go to View, Show Grid, so that you can see a grid and make sure that things are, the right sizes. The size you make it is up to you, but it helps you see if they're evenly spaced. So I'm going to make sure that each of these has one box in between them all, and now they're different sizes, so I need to resize. So I like the size of this one. I'm going to click on this guy and Control T for transform. Hold down Shift and pull it down until it matches the first one. If I'm not sure, I can always hover over it and see if it fits it exactly. Make sure you hit Enter when you're done. So click on the next one, Control T, hold down Shift, scale it up, Enter. Click on your last one, Control T. So it doesn't matter to me if they're all the same size or if they're touching, but I do want the page to look organized, whatever you decide to do. Now we're not going to rasterize our layers because we're not going to change the images. We just change the size and place them on here. But we are going to change the background. So on your background, it's white and it's locked. We want to drag, click and hold and drag this lock down to the trash can so we can manipulate that layer. You guys already painted with the paintbrush. So you're going to use your paintbrush, and when you right click, you're going to see the image of the paintbrush. Or sorry, when you hover, you'll see it. If you right click, just choose one of these in the top row. Make sure it's really large. What's nice about Photoshop is you can just paint wherever. As long as you're on that background layer, your photos won't be bothered. Now mine is coming out gray, I'm noticing, because my opacity is down. If I move it up and repaint, I'll have black. It doesn't matter to me if you want to lower that opacity and go to gray, as long as you're doing the same thing everywhere. So I've painted my entire background. I'm going to turn my grid off. I don't need it anymore. So View, Show, and Deselect Grid. I want to move my 4 lines over a little bit. I don't want to move them one at a time. I'd like to move them as a group. I can click on one layer, hold down Shift, and click on all the other layers. When I let go of Shift, they're going to move as a group, which will save me a lot of time. Last thing we're going to do is add a type layer. So you click on the capital T tool and click once anywhere on your piece of paper. Now, you're going to have to forgive me. When you guys do this, your settings are going to be the standard settings. I was working all day, so mine have all been changed. Your standard settings are going to be Myriad Pro, 12 point, and black. Now I know right now that if I type with black, you won't be able to see it. So I'm going to click here and go up to white so you guys can see it. And I'm going to type less is more. Comes out very tiny in Myriad Pro. I don't want you to highlight to change the font and the size. I want you to click off of it and tell the computer I'm done typing by hitting the Move tool. But then I want you to tell the computer you're manipulating that type again by reactivating the Type tool, which gives you these options again. You're still on the type layer over here, so if I change my size, it changes for me. If I change my typeface, it changes for me. So you can roll through the types with the roller on your mouse if you want. You can move this with the Move tool anywhere you want as well. So when you're done with that, you're going to type again, and you're going to type your name. And you can do the same process. So you can move it, you can go back to T, change the size, move it. So you can set up that any way you want. You're going to File, Save As, save it in your home directory as a Photoshop file. I'm going to say this is demo. And then you need to File, Save As, and choose JPEG. That's what you need to do for less is more. Once you have that JPEG, you can put that in your portfolio.